And from time to time, there are surveys done of online, specifically running coaches, asking about what are some of their top concerns. The number one concern people have is not the subject of this video. It's actually how do I get more athletes? But the number two concern is the subject of this video. The number two concern is how do I get more and better feedback from my existing athletes? And as I happened to be talking with another coach about this just yesterday, I thought, hey, why not do a training tip on it? Because really, feedback is a very, very important part of everything because every coach wants feedback on how training is going. So we're going to start with a little analogy. You get to play a role. Now, I'm going to use football. I understand you may not know everything about football, but I think you'll kind of get the gist of this. You're a football coach and your team has the ball. So what you're going to do as that coach is you're going to design, at least in your head if nothing else, a series of plays that you're going to have the team do that's designed to get the ball from wherever that ball is and ideally across the goal line so that your team can score some points and ultimately win the game. So what you do is you're going to give those plays, that plan, probably to the quarterback saying, here's what we're going to do to score. So you give your quarterback the plays and then they put a blindfold on you. And a minute or so later, they come back to you and say, okay, coach, now what? What do you do? Yeah, well, what you'd want to know is, well, what did you run the play that we were going to run? If you ran that play, what happened? We had hoped to do this run play and get 3 yards. Did you do the run play? Did we get 3 yards? Did you get sacked? What happened? Because if you don't know whether or not they ran the play, or you don't know what happened with that play, you're kind of hard-pressed to say whether or not you should do the next thing. So let's say, for the sake of example, say, well, we're just going to go ahead with the plan that I had. Well, what if they sacked the quarterback and they lost 10 yards? I think that next play was probably the wrong thing. So that blindfold is a real disadvantage, and that's why getting feedback on how the runs are going is so important to a coach because it allows the coach to then make adjustments if they're needed to the plays that he or she has designed to get you to the goal line or to your race. So generally speaking, there are two things that we're always looking for. One is there anything that was different than the plan? And number two, how you felt is a really big thing. We all get all kinds of data now from vertical oscillation and pace and wind and sun. But how somebody felt is a really big deal. So I'll give you a couple examples of that. So let's say that the plan was you were supposed to run 8 miles and you only ran 6. But there's no feedback provided on that. Well, here's two reasons why that might happen. Let's say that you only ran 6 because of work. You got out of work late, you simply didn't have enough time, and you could only do 6 miles. Okay, that happens, life. But let's say you only ran 6 miles because your hamstring was cramping up and you couldn't continue. There's a really big difference between cutting a run short because you didn't have time and cutting a run short because physically something was wrong. So here's a difference than the plan, and it's very, very common that the coach will just see 6 miles but has no idea why was it 6 miles? So when your coach is wanting to know what the difference is, it's not because he or she is trying to judge you, but the reasons, and there's many more besides work and hamstring, may or may not tell something about what are the next plays that coach wants to run. We also want to know how you feel. So let's say you're supposed to run 6 minutes at X pace. Well, one of three things is probably going to happen. It felt easy, it felt normal, it felt like puke pace. So if it's supposed to be, let's just say it's supposed to be an easy run. The fact is, if it's supposed to be an easy run, you're supposed to run 6 miles, it's supposed to be easy, it felt easy, there's not a lot of feedback that's necessary in that. Now, I kind of like when people do some feedback anyway because I know they thought about it rather than forgetting. But really, if it's exactly what it was supposed to be, who cares? On the other hand, if it was supposed to be an easy run and it felt like puke pace, I'd want to know that because that says something. Does that mean the next play is going to change? Maybe, maybe not. It depends. It's just one run. Conversely, let's say that you're doing some track work. Well, track work, we don't ever want to be puke pace, but if it felt like puke pace, that's a good thing to know too. So again, the two big things you always want to know is if something has changed in the plan, why did that change? And then how did you feel on that run? That's very important. And the last thing I'll say is it's very rare that there's too much feedback. I will tell you, I've got some people, they write a paragraph every single run, and that's perfectly fine. And I think sometimes people feel like, well, I don't want to be bothering my coach and give them all that. I'm here to tell you, I've never run into anybody who said, I'm getting too much feedback, because feedback is the breakfast of champions.